Good evening. Welcome to Kathy's Church Chat. This is to replace our pizza party that we used to have every second Monday of the month, but because of the pandemic, of course, we can't. So instead, I'm going to be on here the second Wednesday of every month, and I'm going to give you food for thought since we can have food together. Tonight, I'm going to talk about rationalizations. Somebody once said there's a lot of things you can do without in a day, but you can't do without a good rationalization. And I think if you think about that, you'll see that it's true. In my case, my favorite one right now is, well, of course I've gained weight. It's a pandemic, there's nothing to do but eat. And that really works for me. And but when these rationalizations interfere with your walk with God, then you really got to get your priorities straight. And so many times we assume that they are, but then if you look back at things you've done, then you'll see that probably maybe they weren't. For instance, when my kids were young and in school, then they were involved in jobs and with sports, and they knew at the beginning of every job, at the beginning of every sports event, then they had to tell the coach or the employer, I can come anytime you want me, but I can't come on Sunday morning because we go to church. And never once did any of the coaches or any of the employers say, give them a hassle about it. They were absolutely fine with it. And so many times we assume that they're not going to be fine with it, so we don't even try. But, you know, if you're going to talk it, then you better walk it, and that's the way you walk it. Our associate pastor, Kevin Berg, is a great example of this. He had some friends in Pennsylvania, and they came up to visit one weekend. Now, he could have said, I won't be in church Sunday because we're seeing some really good friends, and we haven't seen them in a long time, so I'm going to stay home. But he didn't. Instead, the friend that was coming, he stepped out in faith and started his own business. And Kevin said to him, hey, why don't you give a testimony about that at church? And the guy did, and it was very good, and it was a way to get him into church. And his son, Antoine, lives up in Rochester, and he often comes down to visit. And if it's a Sunday, Kevin will say, well, come on over and play the drums. So he's a guy that does not only talk it, but he walks it. And I think a good theme for him would be my house, my rules, because they go to church, so if you're in our house, you'll go to church too. And if you look at it, the Ten Commandments, what does it say? Keep holy the Lord's Day. So do you do that? And do you take the time? Because, you know, if you come to church, then that's a special day for you. And then you can take the afternoon and just chill out. With all you have to do all week long, this would be a day that you can just relax. You know, we all prioritize things like meals, taking our dogs for a walk, because we're supposed to do it every day, and if you don't, shame on you. But you prioritize that. But do you prioritize God, or does he take a back seat in your life? So often that's what happens. He takes the back seat. And if you don't live your beliefs, like not living the Great Commission, go out into the world and spread the word of God, then you're only talking it, you're not walking it. A man in our church had a heart attack, and they flew him up to Rochester General, and all the way in the flight, he was just like really calm. And so they get him up there, and they bring him into what they're going to do all these procedures, and again, he's just really calm. And somebody said to him, aren't you nervous? He goes, no, I know God will take care of me. And that like astounded them. A couple of nurses came to him afterwards, and they were talking about his beliefs and all. So this is a guy that didn't even talk, and he just walked it, and people noticed what was going on. And then another man, he wanted to be baptized, and he was like in his 70s, and he's so excited. And the day came for him to be baptized, and his wife wasn't with him. And I said, where's his wife? And somebody said, well, they're having a party afterwards, so she's home cooking. And I thought, the big priority in his life was to be baptized, and his wife wasn't even there. She like missed the whole thing. And that was sad for him. I felt bad for him. But he was so excited about that you know, I don't think he even realized it, I'm not sure. You know, when you rationalize about important things, then you find that they become less and less important. And that's a shame, because if they were important at one time, you shouldn't have let them slip to be not important. I was in therapy for over 12 years, and I did everything that therapist told me to do. And he was amazed, because he said most people didn't do that. And I said, well, why would I pay someone and not do what they say? And it's the same with God and going to church. Why would I go and not do what God says? You know, you gotta stop rationalizing. We need direction, we need fellowship, and that's where we get it. And a good example of fellowship is when I broke my neck. Broke my neck in a car accident, and I was in a brace that went to here, and I could turn this way, and I could turn that way, and I couldn't even look down. And for 2 months, every night, somebody from our church would bring me food for a meal. And I said, you know, and to have that happen, that wasn't just fellowship, that was a family who loved me. And that's the one thing you get. Those are the pluses of going to a church. You get people who love you, people who want to be with you, people who help you when you're down. And that is the best way to have it in your life. So I urge you not to rationalize. And I have a poem I want to read you about that. It's called God in My Pocket. I keep God in my pocket because we so often disagree. I respect him but reject him when he refuses to follow me. His words sometimes confuse me and often make me mad. We're just not on the same page, and for him that's just so sad. His concepts are unfashioned, totally out of date. I'm glad I'm a biblical scholar and can modernize them before it's just too late. I feel so bad that God is blind to what life is like today. So I'll leave him in my pocket, but yes, I'll let him stay. I'll continue to study his word, but apply it with my own light. Eventually he'll come to see that of course I've always been right. Then I'll accept his apology when he sees how wrong he's been. And once again we'll be equal, and he won't need humbling again. So I'd like you to think about that the next few weeks, and I'd like to now take us to prayer. And I pray, Lord, that you keep us on the path we need to be, where we follow you each day and don't go our own way.